First, at the time I became CEO, the company was very small. So I think though I was young at the time, it was taking over a very small company. We were number 4 in the mobile market at the time. And it was certainly a very challenging entry into the business world. But first milestone, I think, that I consider as the milestone I achieved first was to build an excellent team. That is, they were young and also very committed, dedicated group of individuals. So in terms of milestones, I think, and challenges, it was to find the right people, get them committed to the task of taking the number 4 operator to number 1. That was our vision. In 1997, I remember writing down that vision, that we will be the market leader by the year 2000. And we achieved that. So that was a very significant milestone where, with the turn of the millennium, we became the largest mobile operator from being number 4 to number 1. From that point, I think we worked very hard. The company also was growing. We worked very hard to reach all parts of the country, make our product available, very relevant, very affordable to a lot of people. And with that philosophy, we were able to drive the market share into the 60s. And come 2005, when we listed the company, went to the stock market, that was the next milestone. We had a 60% market share. Listed, and I think the IPO is still the largest IPO in Sri Lanka. We still have that record in terms of size. And we also became the largest market cap soon after, with a market cap of over $1 billion at the time. From that point, actually, we had to take a very strategic decision, and after listing, where we were clearly an undisputed leader in mobile. But then what do? Do we remain a mobile-only player, or do we start, going into adjacent sectors where we could leverage the strengths that we had developed, assets that we had built? And when I talk of assets, it's not just brick and mortar or networks or electronics, but assets in terms of people, partners, brand power, and various other soft assets, capabilities, and so on. So then we took a decision that we need to move into areas which were under-penetrated at the time, but would, in 5 years or more, would be growth sectors. So that saw the beginning of our diversification drive in 2006. We first went into broadband by acquiring Maharaja Telecom Towers, which is now Dialog Broadband Networks. We acquired that company, built a fixed line network and a fiber network through the license of that company. 2007, we moved into media and acquired at that time Asset Media and CBN-SAT, now merged into Dialog Television. So these are the 3 principal blocks. 2007 and 8, as you know, tough years for Dialog, and I would say, I think you have some questions later, so I'll answer at that time. But anyway, another I would consider a milestone is the major recovery we made back to very profitable state in 2010, and from there we had never looked back. We have been very aggressive and innovative. And most recently, I think, moving into financial services with our payment license, which we got from the central bank, and the Easy Cash mobile payment system, which again first in Sri Lanka. So I think that's a long journey, 15 years from 1997. But I would still go back to that original achievement, which was, I think, getting good people around to lead the journey. And it's never about a single leader, it's about having a good team. And I think any leader should set that as their first milestone. Be able to build a good team and motivate them to deliver the vision. Yeah, Santel, actually, I can tell you why we acquired Santel and then merged it. It's that in the fixed line business, I think I mentioned earlier, we acquired the Dialog broadband networks in 2007. So, though we were a late entrant and fourth player, over time we always review these decisions, and what we felt was to get to at least a number 2 position in the fixed sector. In mobile we are number 1, in international we are number 1, in TV we are number 1, but in fixed line we were number 4. So we needed to get to scale, otherwise the scale economics of running a number 4 player in the market is very challenging, because you can't get the economies of scale. So for that reason we were looking at an inorganic approach, meaning that you acquire someone else and a company which has similar culture, similar network, similar technologies and so on. So Santel fitted the bill very well because the networks are almost identical. The culturally also we found a lot of synergy, and we went ahead with this acquisition and merger. And what we are looking at is, by combining the network assets, human assets, and also the processes, aligning them end to end, that we will get a synergistic benefit, both in terms of financials as well as in terms of market power. I think the whole challenge of handling an economic downturn is one which is very challenging, difficult. But I think in the case of Sri Lanka's telecom industry, it's what I would call a perfect storm, perfect definition of absolute chaos. Because if I go back to 2007, the Sri Lankan economy started dipping well ahead of the global economic crisis in 2008. 2008 was the oil crisis and the general downturn globally. But in Sri Lanka it started in 2007 fourth quarter, where we saw inflation beginning to rise, exchange rate, there was a devaluation at that point, interest rates went up, inflation went up, and consumer spending power began to shrink. This was seen at the latter part of 2007. I think driven partly by the acceleration of the war, because balance of payments and the demands of the war and the defense expenditure was playing off, and then the oil crisis came in. So the economy went down. Now, at that time when you are serving multiple segments of the economy, and Dialog was probably one of the few companies which serves from top 10 CEO to the poorest, in the furthest parts of the country. So that's a very broad exposure to economics, because it's not like if there's economic downturn you can't really compensate, because everyone's spending power goes down. So on top of that situation, the real killer that time was that the industry in the price war. Not Dialog, but another operator triggered this. And the price war behavior on top of economic downturn is one which has a catalytic effect, because you reduce price for competitive reasons. When the consumer doesn't have spending power, what happens is that your revenues just fall. If the consumer has spending power, you reduce price, consumption increases. There's elasticity of demand, and therefore you can actually use it as a positive strategy. But when spending power is down and you reduce price, your elasticity is negative, so you just keep reducing your revenue. On top of that, inflation was driving costs up. Fuel had gone up, cost of operating our networks was going up. So fundamentally, it was a revenue problem and a cost problem. And our rebound program was about looking at both these angles. So just to explain in brief what the rebound program was about, we took a strategic decision that we will not touch anything which was working. So our marketing engine, our customer service engine, face to the customer, and our care and service given to the customer, we would not compromise. So we did not apply any cost reduction to any of those elements. So if you were to take a consumer off the street and ask, is Dialog having any problem, they would not even know. And actually Dialog had very good growth, and our marketing indices were actually increasing during that time. Then we looked at the back end and looked at all the cost drivers. So we have, if you look at our cost breakdown, we have something like between 100 and 150 cost drivers which drive our entire cost base. So we looked at each cost driver. We looked at the multiple, cost driver times activity-based cost at a very, very detailed level. So though we were a big company, I think we did the right thing by looking at every little detail, from details of transport cost, cleaning cost, cost of electricity, keeping air conditioners on, lights on. We took a decision to shut offices at 6 because we found 2-3 hours of energy for what? The work you do in that 3 hours is very limited. Ranging from very small things to big cost cutting and re-engineering of the networks and so on. So we didn't leave a stone unturned. We looked from the tiniest to the largest and reworked our cost drivers and cost multiples to a level which then brought our cost base down. Within 12 months, we increased our EBITDA margin from 23% to 39% while growing revenue. And that's how in, I think, 9 quarters, it was 9 quarters, little over 2 years, where we went from a loss-making quarter to a profit of nearly 2 billion rupees per quarter. So it was a quick turnaround, and that was possible by looking at everything in great detail.
Approximately reach the level of population, and the government has imposed minimum charges. So how do you see the future growth of Dialog?
So I think one is that, start with penetration. I think that number is pro forma penetration. That's like 95% SIM cards versus population. But I would say 35 to 40% of people have 2 SIM cards. So you need to correct for that, and I would say some have even 3 or 4 or maybe even 5. So if you correct for all that, I think your penetration is about today around 60%. So 60 to 100, there's still a lot of room. But then over and above that, I think there's potential in what the citizen will use the phone for. So move from voice to more data services, value-added services. And then as long as the company evolves, and now we're getting into payments, we're getting into e-commerce with our portals and various value-added services, we see that while one segment, that is just voice communication, might saturate, there are many new segments which, or business segments, which will be growing.
Currently, Dialog is market leader with a market share of 55%. So how do you see the competition, especially by Mobita, which is subsidiary of SLT? What are the strategies you are implementing to retain as the market leader?
I think we just need to do what we do to the best of our capability. Do what we call our business as usual, standard service provision, that is mobile telephony, fixed telephony, international, and do that to a level which is excellent in terms of customer service. Not give a customer experience which is better than everyone else, and be efficient, cost efficient, and fast in what we do. While doing that, we need to keep the innovation engine going and taking the next phase of growth. So looking at new things to do based on our infrastructure platforms and our dealer networks and our partner networks. And that way we can always keep ahead, because I think our innovation capability and the culture of the organization is one about always doing something new while doing what we do yesterday faster and cheaper. So as long as you keep that focus, what you're doing today you do faster, cheaper, do something new tomorrow. That way you keep the engine running ahead. I feel it's much higher than anyone recognizes. Pro forma growth, pro forma contribution of the sector to economic development is about 2%. Because if you take standard definition of investment and revenues, I think the telco sector is 2 or 2.2% of the economy. But there has been a study done by McKinsey covering several markets, and I know for sure they covered India, China, Philippines, some of the African countries. And what they have found is that wireless technology, especially mobile phones, but wireless technology in general, what it delivers to the consumer in terms of what you call consumer surplus, which is the economic contribution from the efficiency increase of the consumer himself or herself. So example, trishaw driver, what's his contribution to the GDP with or without a mobile phone. So without a mobile phone, the trishaw driver will be probably doing 5 hires a day, plus he'll be wasting a lot of petrol running around looking for people. With a mobile phone, he gets 10 hires, generates double the revenue, plus doesn't waste the resources because he stays in the trishaw stand and waits for somebody to call. So if you look at that trishaw driver as a business entity, or you look at then the fisherman or the pankade or whatever, wireless technologies have been shown to increase consumer surplus by 4 times contribution to the economy. So the rule of thumb is that if your direct contribution is 1, then your consumer surplus from the wireless empowerment will be 4. And therefore that in fact the 2% GDP contribution may in fact be as high as 10. So that's a hypothesis which hasn't been tested in Sri Lanka. But I don't think we are too far wrong, because if you take away, let's say tomorrow, you take away wireless connectivity, all the empowerment that ranging from the top corporate all the way to, you take a CEO like myself, I would be with a BlackBerry, I'll finish my work while I'm on the move, on the road I'll be doing something, I don't waste any time during the working hours. So, and you take away the trishaw driver's phone, you take away the fisherman's phone, everyone. I wouldn't be surprised if the economy goes 10% down in terms of productivity. So I think the telco sector overall, wireless connectivity, internet, all this is very very valuable to the national economy. And this is more so in the case of a developing country like Sri Lanka, where transport is more difficult. actually on the board of some of the Axiata subsidiaries, not on the main Axiata board, but I participate in Bangladesh, in India, and of course some of the Sri Lankan companies and some of the other committees in South Asia. The region, very similar trends. South Asia especially, the role of wireless and mobile communication is very, very significant, what I would call life-changing for a lot of people. And I think I'm happy to say that Sri Lanka is on many dimensions, whether it be in terms of technology, in terms of the level to which technology has gone down to the poorest people. Sri Lanka is very much ahead. What we are a little behind is actually in terms of, for example, fiber optic networks. I've seen, say in India, although the country is a very, very large country, you find that the fiber optic networking is very advanced. So Sri Lanka needs to, I think, catch up on that, but many other areas where definition as multi-sensory, I can go back to 2005 when we changed our vision from being just undisputed leader in telecommunication to, well, we want to stretch. A vision should be something which stretches your imagination, and then we changed this to multi-sensory connectivity. You will ask me why it isn't multimedia connectivity again. So we felt multimedia connectivity again limits us to technology, connecting people via video or sound or technologies. Multisensory is about connecting human needs. There's no other word in the English language, but it's like, for example, hearing, or emotion, or knowledge, learning, health, good health. So these are all human facets which we want to be the leader in connecting multisensory facets of the human being. So for example, education, we would want to be at some point the leading connector of an individual to education. So why this is needed to pitch our vision so far is that today's business of simply connecting mobile phones, of operating a network, of selling a commodity of minutes or bits and bytes of data, that will become like an utility business in 5 years' time. It will be like selling water. So I think 5-10 years from today, probably consumers won't pay for minutes of voice. They will not pay for bytes of data. They will pay for learning. They will pay for valuable pieces of information. They will pay for an experience like a movie. They will pay for happiness. If you're bored, you'll pay for some entertainment. So I think therefore telecom provider who is looking to be relevant in the future has to change their vision to what consumers want. So we certainly don't want to become a utility provider only. We will continue to be a utility provider, but we want to play in the space of consumer emotions and connectivity. I think each organization has its own cultural orientation, positioning, approach to culture. I have tried to maintain a culture of equality and culture of diversity, because innovative company has to have people from all walks of life. different types of people. People who are aggressive, people who are quiet, people who are from rural areas, from town, from English-speaking background, from vernacular background, artists, scientists, technologists, and so on. So, what I would like, if somebody was to describe the dialogue culture, I would like it to be described as one where every one of these people comes to dialogue and is perfectly at home, and they enjoy coming to work, and they feel like it's a part of their home, and they go back. So I haven't promoted the concept of this is dialogue culture. You come here, you must change and become dialogue culture. If every individual can come and be themselves and feel very much at home, being themselves, I think that would be the ideal culture. That's what I try to promote as a cultural